What's going on, everybody? This week, the UFC finally, and they'd been talking about this for a very long time, finally unveiled their new ranking system. Dana White has been very vocal about how much he disliked the media's way of ranking the UFC fighters, which I thought was a fine system, a very fair system at that. And I thought a lot of the issue with the rankings had to do more with the UFC's matchmaking than did the actual ranking system. But obviously, we know Dana and we know the UFC, and when they want to change something, they're going to change it. So the new rankings are here. I want to give you guys my thoughts on those, kind of go through these rankings, some of the like really big surprises in these rankings. Apparently, Pat Sabatini is the next coming of George St. Pierre in the UFC, according to these new meta AI rankings, and all that. And then I want to preview this week's main event. Rafael Fiziev, Manuel Torres in Baku. Exciting fight. I want to talk about that a little bit at the end. If you're not already, please subscribe to the pod. Drop a like on the video. If you're on Spotify, follow and whatnot. Instagram and TikTok up here in the top left corner at Offsetting Penalties. That's where you see all the clips, all the updates of the pod and everything. I appreciate all the support on all these. And without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so here are the rankings. Big shout out to Championship Rounds for putting this together. So the deal with these rankings now, and I don't fully understand it, but it's taking into account other things. It's taking into account the types of wins you're getting, so it's not viewing a decision win the same way it views a dominant knockout win. It's taking into an account activity. So a lot of these inactive fighters that were in the rankings are gone now, which I do think is a pretty good thing, because there's some guys like Colby Covington, and even though it sounds like he's retired from the sport now, when he was in the rankings, he was like not fighting at all. The last time he fought was December of 2024, and he was still in the rankings in late 2025 to early 2026. So I kind of like these new rankings a little bit, but big shout out to Championship Rounds on Twitter. Give them a follow. I mean, they're a very trusted news source for MMA and boxing, so I'm sure you are already. But so here's an example right here, and we're looking at the heavyweight rankings. So on the left are the new meta AI rankings, on the right are the media rankings. And, you know, these look pretty standard, but there's just some weird stuff in here. For instance, you go to the meta AI rankings on the left side, it's got Rizvan Kuniev over Curtis Blades. On the right, the media rankings, it's Blades over Kuniev. Curtis Blades beat Rizvan Kuniev. Even though it was kind of a controversial decision at the time and whatnot, like Curtis Blades beat him. And so in what world does he leapfrog him, unless Kuniev had like a big win over someone else above Curtis Blades in the rankings, because we'll see that from time to time. That's not the case here, right? Kuniev hasn't beat any of the guys above him, and the guy who's directly below him, he lost to. Makes no sense. That's part of kind of like what I don't understand about it. I like that it kind of favors the activity and whatnot. Derek Lewis out of the rankings is kind of crazy, but I don't hate it because there's guys in these rankings who have been much more active, who have been fighting very, very well. Brando Pericic is one who's been fighting very actively. Walter Walker hasn't fought in a while. I'd imagine the AI algorithm just has him up there just because of the simple fact that, you know, he's had all these heel hook finishes very, very quickly into fights. But the heavyweight is tamer than a lot of the others. You go to light heavyweight, the big one here, Paulo Costa is ranked number 4 in the world, which I actually don't hate in the media rankings. He's number 7. I don't hate that. But then you look below it, Jamal Hill's over Khalil Roundtree. Jamal Hill lost to Khalil Roundtree pretty like clearly a year ago on the Baku card a year ago. And this year's Baku card is this weekend. That's what I'm going to talk about later in the pod. So in what world should Jamal Hill be over Khalil Roundtree? Oh, you want to make the activity thing? Jamal Hill hasn't fought since then. Khalil Roundtree has. Did he lose? Yeah, it was Yuri Prohaska. But like Jamal Hill hasn't fought since that fight. He lost in that fight, and he's above Khalil Roundtree in the rankings. Makes zero sense. Azamat Murzakanov, I get it that Paulo Costa loss was tough. Paulo Costa's a really, really good fighter. Dropping him down more spots than he needs to be is whatever. And then you get to the bottom of the rankings, and it's like, you know, it is what it is. Dominic Reyes at 7, by the way. It's crazy. I can't believe I just glanced over that. There's in no world should Dominic Reyes be 7 and Johnny Walker be 14 after those two fought in a fight that no one should have won because it was such a miserable fight. You go to middleweight now. Middleweight, actually, when I was looking through these, if I remember correctly, was kind of one of the tamer ones. The big one to me was Ranier D. Ritter dropping all the way to 15. That's pretty crazy just off of 2 losses to 2 very, very good opponents, right? So in that, I don't fully agree with that. But then again, RDR is moving to 205, it sounds like. So, it's weird, and you'll see this a lot of the time. Let me go back to heavyweight, because if you saw, Alex Pereira is actually ranked heavyweight here, and then you go to light heavyweight, and Alex Pereira is ranked in the media rankings, but is he ranked in the meta AI? He's not. So I kind of no, he is. He's ranked number 1 in the meta AI rankings. So how does that make any sense? Because he's not a 205er anymore. I would just remove him from the rankings. The media needs to do that too. That's the same thing with RDR if he's not there. Robert Whitaker dropped completely from the rankings. That is ridiculous. There is no reason for that to be happening, which is just confusing to me. It's just too ticky-tack. By the way, Robert Whitaker's last win in the UFC, it was a while ago, but his last win was Ikram Aliskerov. He knocked him out in 1 round, and Aliskerov's up in the rankings, but Robert Whitaker isn't. Like, that's what I'm saying. It takes this activity thing. I just don't understand it. I really don't. And it only gets worse from here. You go to welterweight. This one's somewhat understandable. The weird one to me, why is Buckley above Usman? Usman's going up to 185, first off. But secondly, Usman just beat Buckley. And I just think the meta AI rankings is this classic case of they're just overthinking things, right? If a guy beats a guy, the person who won that fight should be above him in the rankings, unless it's a weird case where the guy who lost a couple fights later fights a guy higher in the rankings and he beats him, and it's weird. Sometimes that's going to happen. I get it. But why is Joaquin Buckley over Kamaru Usman? Because it's not like Joaquin Buckley has been super active since that fight. It's not like Joaquin Buckley has won any fights since that fight. He just lost to Sean Brady very handedly. So that makes zero sense either. It's just weird, man. I just don't understand the need for this. I don't understand why they're doing it. And if you're going to do it right. But they're not. These rankings are all over the place. You go to lightweight, Quillen Southfield is 8. Look, I like Quillen Southfield a lot. I think he has a very, very bright future in the UFC. What is he doing at 8? His best win is Beneil Dariush, who you don't even have ranked in these meta AI rankings. That makes zero sense to me. Patty all the way to 9. I get it. He just lost his last fight to Justin Gaethje. That's the champion Justin Gaethje now. It's not like and he fought not a better fight than Ilya did, but he got to the end of the fight, which Ilya Topuria said he couldn't. So that one is crazy to me. Tom Nolan, Manuel Torres, Fiziev, who's main eventing this week, who's ranked number 11 in the world currently, isn't even in these rankings. That makes no sense at all. So I hate this, dude. I really don't agree with this ranking system at all. Then you go to featherweight, and this is the big one. There's another one in the women's rankings, but this is the big one. In what world is Pat Sabatini the 7th best lightweight in the world? Or featherweight in the world, I should say. In what world is Pat Sabatini the 7th best featherweight in the world? That makes zero sense at all. Does he have some statement win? No, not really. I mean, he's beaten some, he beat Chepe Mariscal, and he's got some good wins, but what are we doing here? Yeah, he beat Joe Anderson Brito. Why is Brito even in the rankings? That makes no sense to me. Nathaniel Wood. I'm a huge Nathaniel Wood fan. I think Nathaniel Wood is an awesome fighter. He's been deserving of a shot at the rankings for a very long time now. Why is he ranked 9th in the world? Right? Are we sitting here saying that Nathaniel Wood is better than Kevin Vallejos? Is better than Steve Garcia, who just fought at the White House and before that was on a 6-fight win streak and somewhat active too at that? This makes no sense. I'm sorry. I hate this. I hate this so much. Let's just look at the other couple divisions just for the heck of it. Raoni Barcelos at 8. Barcelos, another guy who deserves to be in the rankings, getting good fights because he's been on this crazy win streak. Why is he all the way up there? Why is David Martinez 7? That makes zero sense to me. Ayman Zahabi, who just fought at the White House, is 12. I don't understand them. And then you go to flyweight, here, and I don't have Kevin Borjas 10, Mitch Raposo 11. What quality wins? I know Borjas just beat Andre Lima. That's a very good win. It makes no sense. And I'm sorry, guys, that I keep kind of repeating the same thing here, but genuinely, this makes zero sense to me. This makes zero sense to me whatsoever. I just think that this is the UFC. I think the UFC doesn't love the media, and I won't lie, UFC media, there's a lot of, you watch one of these UFC press conferences and they're asking the most boring questions in the world. The UFC media could use some work. MMA journalism could use some work, and I'm a journalism major, and it disappoints me. I just said that so arrogantly. I apologize. Being a journalism major is nothing to brag about. I just want to put that out there. I'm just saying, as someone who kind of like pays attention to this kind of stuff, because this is the field that I'm in. The MMA journalism, especially compared to all the other sports, and some of the other sports have some pretty bad journalists. MMA journalism is horrible, and I get it. The media is horrible, but I think I think the way that they do it is a fair way to do it, because they take a panel of the media, right, who watch all the fights, or attending all the fights, or covering all the fights, so they know the sport very well for the most part. It's a bunch of them who vote, and then it takes the averages out. It's no different than in college football, for all my college football fans out there, or in college basketball with the AP Top 25, right? With the AP Top 25, this is what happens, is you get a panel of voters, they all vote, and then they average it out, and boom, those are the rankings. That's how they do the MMA ones too. And I didn't think it was bad. If you're gonna change it, maybe like do some more recommendations, kind of like you do with judging, right? When they made the change to judging, where they wanted, hey, we want more of an emphasis on damage and less of an emphasis on top control and all these. And you can like give suggestions out as to how they should change the way that they do it, but it just makes no sense to me, guys. It's genuinely a travesty. You got legends of the sport like Robert Whitaker jumping out of the rankings completely. You've got Jamal Hill above Khalil Roundtree, a guy that he just beat. You've got Rizvan Kuniev over Curtis Blades, a guy that, Kuniev just lost to, and, Khalil Roundtree just beat Jamal Hill. There's no consistency. I am all for not awarding inactive fighters, but the UFC, and this is the true problem with this new ranking system, is the UFC, it's been very known that they have trouble booking their fighters. Peyton Talbot has been looking for a fight since he fought in December, and he's not even booked for one right now. And it's sometimes fighters are inactive and it's their own doing, whether they're just taking time with family, or they're, like some of the time you'll see with the Muslim fighters, they're celebrating Ramadan. And that's okay. That's understandable if you have injuries or religious reasons or family reasons. Some guys are just inactive to be inactive, but some guys are trying to fight and they just don't get booked fights, because this is a very, very big roster. And especially once you get higher up in a division, a lot of the time you need specific fights. You need guys who are ranked above you or who would make a big name for yourself. So I understand there's a lot that goes into matchmaking, but making the inactivity thing such a knock on the fighters in these new meta AI rankings, when a lot of the time fighters have a lot of trouble booking fights and it's not even their own doing, it's the UFC's doing, that's really bad, dude. And that's a huge issue with this new ranking system. On top of the fact that you've got guys like Robert Whitaker jumping out of the rankings, and you've got Jamal Hill over Khalil Roundtree, who he just lost to a year ago on a Baku card. Makes no sense to me. So I really think this is an absolute travesty. Right now, and you'll see it in my lower third when I talk Rafael, Fiziev, Manuel, Torres here shortly. Right now, when you're watching the broadcast and whatnot, it sounds like the numbers you see are still going to be the media rankings, but I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC just at some point like fully goes, yeah, we're doing the meta AI rankings full time. And that scares me. That scares me a lot. So not great by the UFC at all. Yeah, it is what it is. We don't really have much to say over it, especially, a YouTuber with 41 subscribers like myself or whatever I have, but it sucks, dude. It really, really sucks. And I just think these rankings are a huge waste of time. They got it all wrong. If you're going to do anything, come out with an outline as to how the media should rank these fighters and what they should put more emphasis on in their rankings. Don't do this meta AI thing, because what the meta AI thing isn't taken into account for is wins and losses, right? It's taken into how these guys win, and but it's not taken into account like, oh, this guy beat this guy, so he should be above him in the rankings. That's how it's always worked. That's how it should work. No. So bad by the UFC. I do not approve of these rankings whatsoever. I've spoken, here. Luana Santos is apparently the 4th best women's bantamweight in the world. And if you're not super tapped into women's MMA, okay. But Luana Santos, good fighter, not 4th best in her division. Makes zero sense. Makes zero sense at all. Anyways, this week, UFC Baku, which I thought Manuel Kyoji Horiguchi should have been the main event, but I get it. Last year it was Jamal Hill, Khalil Roundtree, like I've been talking about a lot on this pod. And there was people leaving the arena for that fight because the Azerbaijani people just didn't really care about 2 American dudes fighting. So guess what? They put their own, the best Azerbaijani fighter in the UFC, really of all time, Rafael Fiziev, and he's fighting Manuel Torres. This is a tough fight. Fiziev just got knocked out in January/February by Mauricio Hufi, who obviously just got another statement win at the White House over Michael Chandler. Manuel Torres is a dog, dude. Manuel Torres is a dog, and the only real hiccup we've seen in the UFC from him was on the Sphere card. Ignacio Bahamondes knocked him out. That's a guy that Ignacio Bahamondes that's actually lost to Rafael Fiziev on the Baku card a year ago. That was the co-main event. And Fiziev, it was a close competitive fight, but Fiziev won that pretty decisively, 29-28, if I'm not mistaken, over Bahamondes. So if you're doing the MMA math game, okay, Fiziev beat Bahamondes, Bahamondes beat Torres, Fiziev should beat Torres. That doesn't always work that way. I think that's why the line is what it is. Rafael Fiziev is a very slight favorite. But, as we see all the time, as we just saw with the White House card, MMA math does not work. So you got to throw that out the window here and really evaluate this stylistically. I think Rafael Fiziev is an unbelievable fighter. And if you look at his losses, they've always been weird circumstances or guys who are legitimately really, really, really good. He lost to Gaethje twice, one time on short notice. Gaethje's the champ now, and we know how good Justin Gaethje is. He's lost to Mauricio Hufi, who just got another big win and who many people like myself believe will be fighting for a title at some point in his fighting future. And then he lost to Gamrot in a fight that he didn't really lose. He just blew out his knee. So Rafael Fiziev is a legit fighter, has unbelievable Muay Thai. He's so quick, but he's a little undersized for lightweight. And Manuel Torres is a big, big lightweight. And he's got that long, lanky striker build that we see so many guys have success with in the UFC and in MMA, that they just have this ungodly power for not being like super like jacked, low center of gravity. It's just the long limbs to be able to just the ability to just be able to pop your shots out there and connect. Manuel Torres has serious dynamite in his hands. Every fight he fights in does not go to the scorecards. It's always a finish, usually tending to be Torres is the one getting the finishes. So I do really like this fight. Stylistically, I think I think it will be on the feet most of the fight. Maybe Torres mixes in a little grappling, but that's not really his style. We know that's not Rafael Fiziev's style. It's if Fiziev can get in the range of Manuel Torres. And what Fiziev was able to do so well against Bahamondes a year ago was he was able to Bahamondes is this long striker who really likes throwing these kicks and keeping you at range. So Fiziev was just getting in the pocket, right? And he was throwing these body kicks and he was boxing them up. And the height discrepancy was crazy in that fight. But Fiziev was able to make it, closer and kind of take away those long-range weapons that Bahamondes has. Manuel Torres doesn't really fight like that, right? He's got the long-range weapons, but it's really the boxing and the dynamite in his hands that gets him his wins and gets him his knockouts. And I don't think it's going to be as problematic for Torres as it was for Bahamondes if Fiziev is really fighting him in close. So for that reason, I'm kind of leaning Manuel Torres here, and it really saddens me to say it. I also do think that Fiziev got knocked out 5 to 6 months ago now, right? And that's it's been some time now, but we hadn't really seen Fiziev get done like that in the UFC ever, right? His two losses, besides the torn ACL one to Gamrot, his two losses were to Gaethje, and even though Gaethje pretty handily won both those fights, especially the first one, in those fights, Fiziev had his moments, and it went to the scorecards, and he lost the decision, and Rufi put his lights out and really, really had him wobbled. And Rufi's another lightweight who's very long and uses his range very well. And I think we see this with guys sometimes where they get knocked out for the first time, and it's kind of hard to shake it, right? You start to fight a little differently, you approach your fights different, and it's not like Fiziev's had really time to have that was this calendar year. That was 5 months ago. That's a good amount of time in between fights, but is it a good enough amount of time to recover from a pretty brutal knockout and then have the pressure of the entire country on your back, main eventing in your home country in their second ever UFC card? It's going to be a tall task. I think Fiziev can do it. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think that the later it goes, the more it favors Fiziev, because Fiziev's been in some longer fights. Manuel Torres fights always get done very, very quick. But it's a fascinating matchup stylistically. Two guys who both need wins. Fiziev needs a win to win in his home country and to stay afloat in the rankings. Manuel Torres is a guy who needs a win because that'll continue his ascension up the rankings in the UFC. It's a fascinating matchup. Little odd for a main event to be 11 versus 15, which it would be even worse if we were using the new AI rankings. But really, really fun fight. I do lean Torres just off the fact of Fiziev getting knocked out not long ago, but I think Fiziev has a very real chance. I think Fiziev has speed that very, very few lightweights have, and I could easily see him coming out, kicking Torres, and just Torres kind of getting shocked a little bit by how fast Rafael Fiziev is. So very even fight. I agree with the odds, but I do favor Torres, and if I were a betting man, which I'm not, but if I were a betting man, I would throw a little dough on Manuel Torres here to go get it done. This guy has ungodly power. He is a freak athlete, and I really like watching him fight, and I like watching Fiziev fight too. So very exciting card. Some other good fights on this card as well. Ikram Aliskerov, who I talked about earlier. Michelle Pereira versus Shara Bullet Magomedov is the co-main event. Normally it would be wild, but Michelle Pereira is kind of like fights weird now all of a sudden. So we'll see on that one. But regardless, UFC Baku this week, early fight card. If some crazy results happen, I'll be there to recap it. But if not, probably a pod next week. And yeah, guys, so another mini pod. Really just wanted to come on here to talk about the rankings, and I had some time afterwards. So I wanted to talk about the big fight this week. These rankings, I can't get out of my head how bad these are. Really, I don't get it, man. I really don't get it. So, anyways, I appreciate everyone being here as always. I apologize for the lighting and whatnot. 3 sports going on right now: NBA draft, baseball, World Cup. This is the best time of year right now for sports. There are sports on all day. There's sports news. And unfortunately, the 2 sports that I do this podcast on have kind of been the 2 slowest as of recently. UFC, after the White House, hasn't been a ton of traction on anything. And then football, it's the offseason. Drake, who was it? Kyle Pitts got extended today. Some Brandon Sorsby stuff in terms of like he had the gambling thing and he was going to get, for all my people out there. When some real NFL news drops, I'll be there for that. If anything big happens in the world of UFC, I'll be there for that. But if not, in the meantime, I appreciate everyone rocking with the pod. Offsetting Penalties to the moon. Subscribe. If you're not subscribed, just do it. It doesn't take long. Just go do it. If you're here through the end of the pod, I appreciate you as always. And have a great rest of your week, fellas. Go watch some fights. Go watch some World Cup. Go watch whatever you want. Enjoy yourself. It's summer. I'll talk to everybody later.